Hey, welcome in. My name's Greg. I'm here with my co-host Chandler, and this is the first ever episode of the GNC Fantasy Football Show. Say hey, Chan.
Hey guys, how's it going? Greg, I can't tell you how excited I am
I'm
to get this podcast off the ground, up and running finally.
absolutely first ever episode. We've talked about it for a while now. I'm excited to jump in. We're gonna touch on a little bit of a couple of things today. We got a couple segments. We're gonna do injury first, a couple injury news, but we're gonna do a mock later on. First, a little bit about us. I want to tell you a little bit about our background. Um, I'm an Eagles fan, long time, and I've been playing fantasy football for over 15 years now, competitively. Chandler and I, we've been in a
Jesus.
fantasy league now, competitively going on 5 years, I think.
I think this is the 5th year, maybe the 4th, at least the 4th money
Okay.
year, I believe.
Either way, it's extremely competitive, and I hope as we keep it going, it only gets more and more competitive. So we'll see about that. But before we get started into anything today, just a little bit about news going on this week. Some big news. We're not gonna really worried about the smaller stuff. AJ Green, going through surgery on Tuesday, had to get some stuff cleaned out. Found out he's gonna at least miss three to 4 games. I'm not surprised by this.
And not to interrupt you, but I mean, who didn't see this coming? I mean, AJ Green has a history of injury issues.
Right.
And what blows my mind, and it's something I never realized, is he's the same age as Julio Jones.
Right. Absolutely. And I mean, that's talking about someone else going, that was kind of one of my next stops was Julio Jones. He sitting out the whole preseason. That's more of a precautionary thing. I think we kind of talked about that earlier this week. I don't think it's anything.
I have no concerns regarding Julio. I just want to throw that out there. I know holdouts are, it gets people a little nervous, get a little shaky in their boots. Right. But Julio, it's not something I would necessarily be concerned about.
Right. No, and neither am I. I mean, Michael Thomas getting paid. I don't think Julio is going to go that route, but I mean, more so his foot in. That's the whole reason he's sitting out the preseason, I think, is because, I mean, last week he had a situation again with his foot. I don't know if it's the same foot or something different, but it's his foot. And, that's just something you got to watch throughout the preseason. But before we really jump into it, I want to do a quick huddle and ask you kind of a quick question here. So, of these two players, Chandler, they're going around the same place as far as ADP. We know how a lot of our league mates feel about ADP, but anyway, based off ADP, we don't really have anything else to go off of. But so these two players are going around the same time. You have to choose one, and I want you to tell me who you would choose and why, just real quickly. And that is Keenan Allen or Adam Thielen.
Who I would personally choose.
Correct.
Between those two. Okay, so let's say, they both fall to me. It's my pick in the draft. I think, Greg, I think I've discussed this with you, how I just simply view Adam Thielen for no reason other than just gut feeling as fool's gold.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he had, 1,300 yards last year? I mean, he was a fantasy stud.
Right, put up over 300 points.
There is no denying that. But I have to go with Keenan Allen. I mean, just off the top of the head, without, pulling any stats up and taking a quick, look at it, gut feeling does say Keenan Allen. And it has nothing to do with what has happened in the past, because you base it simply off past performances. I think the answer could be Adam Thielen here.
Sure.
But Keenan Allen,
so
he just feels consistent.
So you're not basing off the quarterback at all. You're not worried about do you compare Phillip Rivers to Kirk Cousins at all whenever you're making that decision there?
No, it's not no, it's not the playoffs. Kirk Cousins is all about putting up numbers and getting paid. I think we've learned that.
Right.
So no. I think Kirk Cousins is a good quarterback. I don't know if he's worth the money he's getting paid,
Sure.
but he's a good quarterback, and I do love Philip Rivers.
Oh yeah,
No,
I'm a Philip Rivers truther. I mean, what, 3 years going on now? I've had him on my fantasy team.
oh yes,
So
yes you have,
I mean,
and honestly, the Vikings and the Chargers are both good teams, and the thing is, Um, I think the Vikings are going to be more apt to play tough defense, run clock, run the ball, keep the game under 24 points. I think Philip Rivers is more of a gunslinger. You do have Mike Williams coming of age, who could potentially take away some of those targets from Keenan Allen, but I'm not really worried
sure.
about that at all. Especially if Melvin Gordon gets traded or continues to hold out, it's simply just going to open up more opportunity for Keenan.
Right, and I mean that goes back to leading back into our some of the other news going on. You know, Zeke still, that's kind of turning into a situation, but from what I've read and heard, I don't think he's in a really a leveraged position. So I think we'll see him week 1 for sure. On Melvin Gordon, on the other hand, it may turn into a Le'Veon Bell.
Interesting stat regarding the Melvin Gordon, not stat, but piece of information regarding the Melvin Gordon holdout is his agent was the same agent that facilitated the trade from for Jarvis Landry from Miami to Cleveland. So we know this guy is not afraid to basically force trade upon teams, and as long as he can keep
Right.
his client willing to do so,
Eh,
you could definitely see. Though the problem is, are there any suitors for Melvin
sure.
Gordon? That's the real
Yeah, no
question.
one's. I mean, I think that there's only a few teams in my head, you know, right off the bat. And I don't have figures in front of me, but I think he would be a good fit for, say, the Texans. That would be a good fit. I don't know if
Ooh,
they have that cap space there,
ooh,
but
Bills.
that would be scary, you know. But not to get hung up on it. Again, you know, we're gonna move on from this, and we're gonna go into what we're calling. Are we gonna call it the Sandman segment? Does that sound all right? You know, for now, the Sandman segment, our
Yeah,
sleeper.
hey, I like that.
Okay.
It's got a nice ring
All
to
right,
it.
so moving into our
Um,
Sandman segment, just tell me, you know, you can talk a little bit about some guys that are going late, or maybe even undrafted, and with some high upside. Do you want to start it off, or
Yeah, I don't have a problem starting it off. One thing I would like to say real quick regarding sleepers and the way that you and I view sleepers is probably different than what most of the listeners are
sure?
used to. Um, so when you are Googling, for instance, or researching for your upcoming draft, potential sleepers, you run across fantasy experts who are discussing their sleepers, and what they are basing it off of is players who are expected to outperform their ADP.
Right.
So, for instance, and I do have an issue with this. For instance, I came across an article today
I concur.
discussing potential 2019 sleepers, and they had Big Ben as a sleeper simply because of where he was being drafted compared to where they predicted him to perform. But I don't think anybody actually considers Big Ben a sleeper. We all know he's a good quarterback. To
Right.
me, a sleeper is somebody that you're not thinking of or that is going super late.
Hmm.
That has potential for, if for example, if it's a wide receiver, has top 30 wide receiver potential. And running back, we're talking going late. You're not talking about them. Philip Lindsay, top 15
Right.
potential.
Yeah.
That's what I believe a sleeper is. So for me, um, I think my number one sleeper, and his ADP actually has been slowly
Whoa,
rising.
whoa, whoa, whoa! I'm
Um,
gonna stop you before you go into it. Give us some like honorable mentions before you reveal your main. That's kind of what I was gonna do.
okay.
So give us like
Oh,
some.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Some honorable
Give us a little
mentions. I
foreplay.
have, bro. Hey, and the thing is, I think I'm going to get a lot of heat for this because I
Okay.
don't think a lot of people are going to agree with me, but that's fine. My first honorable mention is going to be Marquise Lee, and the reason is
Hmm.
okay. So a couple. Let me hedge my take here. He's coming off a massive knee injury.
Right.
Okay, that's scary. I get it. He's still in the PUP list, but what he's doing is he is really focusing on his rehab. I mean, he's honestly trying to make sure he's ready for week 1. So that's not an issue to me. I think he will be out there week 1. But if you don't, I don't know if a lot of people have realized that leading up to the 2018 season, he was a breakout candidate for a lot of people.
Oh
I mean,
yeah,
he was on the
he was
radar.
he was on everybody's radar. I mean, you weren't sneaking away
In
with
20
Marquise Lee.
in 2017, 56 receptions, 702 yards. Okay. 12 and a half yards per reception. That is above league average. And that's with Blake Bortles.
Right.
Bro,
Yeah.
they have the magic man now in Jacksonville. So Marquise Lee's a guy who's probably going to go undrafted. You can grab him in the 16th round, or maybe off the waivers. So that's one of my honorable mentions.
Sure.
Number 2, and I feel shaky about this one. This is not a guy you want to draft even in the 16th round. This is a guy you want to keep your eye on and keep your eye on the team. But it's Jerick McKinnon. Okay. When Dalvin Cook went down his rookie year, Jerick McKinnon got a boost in opportunity. They still had Latavius Murray, and he got the majority of goal line touches, etc. But then San Francisco decided to give McKinnon $5 million a year. Okay. And that doesn't sound like a lot of money when we talk about pro athletes, but for a running back, it is a lot of money.
Yeah.
For instance, the Chargers are offering Melvin Gordon $10 million a year. Now he's turning it down, but the Chargers are telling Melvin Gordon, who we know is a stud, $10 million a year, and then San Francisco saying, hey, McKinnon, this backup will give you $5 million. Okay, there's something there.
Right.
He gets hurt. He tears his ACL. Now they have San Francisco has Coleman, Breida, and McKinnon. So
yeah, it's kind of a King Ghidorah situation. If you ever watch Godzilla, I mean, you don't know which head to
it's
face, but
messy.
yeah, it is absolutely. I'm gonna jump in before you reveal yours. I'm just gonna give my honorable mentions really quick to lead off because you were talking about the 49ers backfield. Matt Breida is on my radar. You got to watch that. You got to pay attention to that. Whether you draft, one of these players in the late rounds, or
May I say I
they're on
hate
your
that?
waiver wire.
Is that acceptable?
That's fine. And I mean, what's your reason? I mean, last year, he was getting double digit touches. He was battling through an injury through most of the games. But from what I've seen, and I think from what most of us seen, I mean, he's talented. So, if the
You know
opportunity
what
is
I'm
there,
hearing from both of us, real quick? What I'm hearing from both of us is that we think the 49ers are going to be a decent football team, and we see
sure.
potential in that backfield, is basically what
Yeah,
we were
I
hearing.
believe I'm gonna say the 49ers are gonna be completely different from what we're used to. I mean, last year was they were looking great right off the bat, and obviously the Jimmy G injury that hurt. And then like I said, Matt Breida, he was looking good, but battling through a lot of injuries. Tevin Coleman, he may be the spark that they need. I don't know. And I'm not a Tevin Coleman truther
We had this
or even
discussion
fan. I would
today.
say, yeah. We were talking about it earlier. I'm not. I mean, being in a high-powered offense and literally having the backfield to yourself for a whole season, and then the year before that, I'm pretty sure he got a lot of looks. I mean, there was nothing there that I looked at where I was like, oh, this guy's gonna be a fantasy, a
Just so the
fantasy hit.
listeners know where you stand,
Mm-hmm.
answer this question for us live. Tariq Cohen or Tevin Coleman, who are you drafting?
That's a tough one for me. Again, we didn't talk about this, but we play in our competitive league. Yeah, I'm in a couple of different leagues, but in our competitive league, our one that we've been running for years, it's a PPR full point. Last year Cohen he put up wide receiver 2 numbers, and what I told you earlier, I said, I can't argue taking Cohen over Coleman because one reason, and that's because Cohen is nothing more than a satellite back. He plays the slot. He's going to get some dump offs. he's not going to get carries. Last year, you actually brought this stat up. He gets last year he had less than 100 carries last year. He's
99.
that yeah, that number's not going to go up. That number's
It's
not
not
going
going
to
to
go
go
up.
up. No, especially with them picking up David Montgomery, and then also I believe it's Mike Davis they
Sure.
got from the Seahawks.
Yeah, Mike Davis, and I think Mike Davis may be kind of what you were saying earlier about Thielen, fool's gold. Like it worked
Yeah,
in
I'm not a
the
Mike
with
Davis
the
fan.
Seahawks. He looked good, but I mean, honestly, I don't think the athleticism is there. He's just kind of a big guy. But moving forward, I think so 49ers good. We both agree with that. Moving forward, my second honorable mention before we reveal our true sleepers, if you will, is Devin Singletary. Now, I'm not
Ooh,
going to spend much time on this, but I think the opportunities there they have
the opportunity
between
has the
McCoy.
potential to be there.
Yes, yes. I mean, if they were smart, they would get him in, let him
Poor
see looks
Shady.
early and
Poor
often.
Shady.
Yeah, and between McCoy and Frank Gore, they have the oldest backfield in the league. I don't see anything changing. I don't see them having any sort of year, especially fantasy relevant. I don't know, they may get double digit carries a couple of games, but it would be really surprising if it was turned into anything more than that. But go ahead with your actual sleeper, and then I'll reveal mine, and then we'll jump right into our mock.
Sure. My actual sleeper is going to be Traquan Smith. Now,
Ooh,
the
okay.
only issue I have with calling him a sleeper now is the fact that a lot of people are catching on and his ADP is slowly rising. But I will say in his rookie year, 28 receptions, 427 yards. Now, that's not something that, just sticks out and you're like, man, wow, what a rookie performance. However, he did have 5 touchdowns. Okay.
Right.
And the thing is, people believe that Ted Ginn is the number 2 wide receiver on the Saints offense. I'm going to
Oh, you
disagree.
don't?
No, I
I'm
think
kind of on the
I
fence.
think Traquan is going to snag that number 2 on that offense, and I think you can definitely see him at least. Okay, maybe not in the touchdown. I'm
Sure.
thinking maybe around 8 touchdowns, but double the receptions and yards. So I'm talking about 800 to 900 yards, around 50 to 60 receptions for him, and I think. Would you not love to have somebody grabbing 50, 60 balls a year, 800 yards receiving, 8
Yeah.
touchdowns in your flex position? I
Yeah.
mean, come on.
Absolutely.
And I think the Saints are going to be fired up. They got a lot to prove. They do. Not to prove. A lot to prove is not the right word, but they're angry at what happened last year.
Well, I mean, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I feel
And this
like
guy's a ball.
they have that defense was there 2 years ago. I think it was 2 years ago. I mean, they were one of the top defenses. Last year they stumbled at first, I think, but they kind of packed it up, got it going towards the end. But yeah, I can absolutely see that. Whenever Smith came onto the scene, he had those couple of games, and everyone was like, "Wow." But
Real
my
fast.
my
I'm
sleeper.
I'm sorry to
Go
interrupt you.
ahead.
Real fast.
Sure.
Another quick point I wanted to make was that we just saw Michael Thomas get paid. But what Michael
Yes.
Thomas is not is he is not a deep threat. Okay. Now it doesn't mean
Right.
he can't, catch fades in the end zone. Doesn't mean he won't break off a 60-yarder, but that's not his forte. He is more of a Keenan
No.
Allen.
You. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You see his receptions happening more towards the line of scrimmage than not.
Drags,
Yeah.
ends,
Absolutely.
slants. I mean,
Right.
but Traquan is the type of guy who's going to take the top off of a defense.
Sure.
And he's only 23
Kind of
years
like a
old. And rookie,
kind of like my boys
yes.
Djax. I'm excited about that. Yeah. Absolutely.
I
I can
don't
see
I
that.
don't hold your same excitement, although I think they're going to be a good team. He could have big games. But real quick,
That's for another episode.
yes. But regarding Traquan, um, I can just picture him having no rookie wide receiver really performs well. Okay, in their rookie year,
Right.
it's typically that second and third year that you see them, break out. And I think Traquan is on the verge of a breakout season, his sophomore year in the league.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I'm no distance. I mean, I'm a big fan of that. So, um, I can see it that Saints offense could be on fire like it usually is. But moving on to mine, Dante Moncrief. Last year the Steelers, and this is I don't think this
Bro,
is going to happen again.
go ahead.
Yes.
Sorry. No, just continue.
Dante Moncrief. I know what you're thinking. I kind of think the same thing halfway, but I was looking at some of his numbers from his previous years. Nothing impressive. I mean, he doesn't have anything over 1,000 yards ever. There were a couple seasons, obviously, where he had to sit out due to injuries or miss some games. But the guy's got size. The guy's got the speed. And unlike we were talking about Michael Thomas just now, Moncrief can actually take the top off if when he wants. I mean, kind of not comparable to Randy Moss, but he kind of can do that in certain situations. You know what I mean?
I
And
do.
and with AB leaving and Jesse James, between the two of those, we're looking at over 200 targets that are going to go.
True.
Now I hear a lot of people talking about, well, Vance McDonald are going to pick those up, or James Conner, Jalen Samuel. I mean, Vance McDonald cannot take. Last year he had 70 targets himself with AB and Jesse James there. So in my mind, it's just ridiculous to see. I don't see Vance McDonald getting more than 100 receptions. That
I
to
agree
me is
with you
just
there.
absurd. So I see Moncrief having he his first 70+ reception year. He hasn't had one yet in the
Wow.
NFL. So I see that happening. And like I said, I just think that the athleticism is there. So um, that's that. That's my
What I
sleeper.
regarding Dante Moncrief, what I will say is, obviously, like, Juju Smith Schuster is not going to get, 200 targets. He's going to max out
Sure.
around, 100 to 110 targets, right?
No, I
Roughly.
mean, I have him probably more like 130 at least.
Targets. How many receptions are you thinking? Maybe
110
90.
tops.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but still, that's the point. 200
Right.
targets are gone. They
Right.
can't all go to Juju. They got to go to somebody. Okay.
Right.
My issue with Dante Moncrief is, aside from, rookies
Hmm.
and second year players, the NFL is a what have you done for me lately league. And he has been in the league for 5 years.
Hmm.
And you have not shown us anything. 4 years with the Colts. Now, 1 year was with Blake Bortles, and he did have 668 receiving yards with the Jags. I get it, but he hasn't produced yet. Even on the Steelers, I can't see him producing now. I mean, I
Right.
honestly have him below 50 receptions, below 700 yards, under 5 touchdowns. And that's me personally. I could be wrong. And we don't really know how good this offense is going to be. I don't have a reason to think it's going to be a bad offense. I really don't. I mean, they didn't have Le'Veon Bell last year. They were a great offense. They missed the playoffs, but they had a good offense. I think Juju is a star. I think he's a
All I'm
stud.
saying is if it's not Moncrief, keep an eye on those wideouts because it's got to be someone. It's not going
It's
to be
got to be
Vance
someone.
McDonald. It's not going to be Vance McDonald. I mean, yes,
Is it
he's going to
James
get the same.
Washington?
No, I we'll see. I mean, he was rookie last year. A lot of people think that he could be that guy.
I
Um,
don't though. So now
right.
I'm kind of leaning towards what you're saying. It's got to be somebody. I'm not a James Washington fan.
I like I
Uh,
like I like the athletic receiver with the height and Moncrief. Like I said, as far as
it's got to be
the
somebody.
build, it he's got it all from there.
Okay.
But unless
If I end
you've
up
got
if I end up
any
drafting
other,
Dante Moncrief, don't get mad at me.
nah, not going to. I mean, right now he's going around as far as ADP again. I know league. I know what you're thinking. Know what you're saying right now. He's going around mid 10 or so. But I think anything after
They're a bunch
9,
of assholes.
you're looking for upside. So
True. That's a fact. I mean, after that, hopefully you got your starters in place, and now you're looking for flyers. You're looking for guys who can be like, oh my God, he's having a James Conner like year or a Philip Lindsay type year. I mean, these are the type of guys.
Exactly.
Tyler Boyd, I mean, that's kind of what you're looking for after like round 8. You're like, my starters are set. Now I'm trying to hit a home run.
That is absolutely right.
I hear you.
So now we're gonna jump into our mock. Um, so just to explain how this is gonna happen, we're gonna do a collaborative mock. You know, we ended up with the eighth pick. For some reason, we chose that. Don't ask why, but we're gonna rock that. It's a 12-team PPR, just like our competitive league runs, our 5-year league. But yeah, we're gonna get into it, and what we're gonna do, we're gonna kind of break down what we're thinking while we're taking the guys that we are. And here we go. I'm gonna start it right now.
Get her going. I will say, if you have already drafted, um, that does kind of stink for your league, simply because
Sure.
we see a lot of news coming out. We discussed AJ Green at the beginning. It's better if you can. I mean, obviously you can't draft if you don't want 10 people in your league auto drafting.
If you're doing a redraft league, wait
Yes.
to the latest time that you can. I myself, I'm doing dynasty for the first time this year. I'm trying to get you in a dynasty with me. I think we should do that soon.
Agreed.
But we drafted about a month ago, and it's a whole different ball game. But I'm excited about it. Unfortunately, I took Melvin Gordon. This was way before, way before any of this. So we'll see how that works out. I don't have Austin Eckler. Someone came to me though and was like, "Hey, where do you value Eckler at?" He was asking way too much.
Justin Jackson is a guy you should keep your eyes on.
Yeah, well, it's a very deep with Dynasty. If you don't know, the roster usually anywhere between 23 to 27 to 30 players. There's not much of a waiver. There's not much of a waiver wire unless you want to go and pluck players that you don't know. So he's gone. But tell us a little bit about what's going on in the draft here. Tell us who's gone.
So first pick of the draft, Christian McCaffrey. I think that's the safest bet. If you have the first pick in the draft, you take McCaff all day. Number 2, Alvin Kamara. 3, Saquon. 4, Zeke. 5, Hopkins. 6, Adams. 7, Johnson. I'm actually kind of shocked that Zeke is still going in the top 5 range. Now, I may have PTSD. I was a guy who had the first pick of the draft last year, and I took Le'Veon Bell. And
Chandler, you can't have PTSD. You can't have PTSD.
You cannot. That is a fact, but I do. And so I took Le'Veon Bell, and I held on to him all year. I actually ended up acquiring Connor and then trading Connor. So that's how bad of a year that I had. Yes.
I remember that.
Yes.
Yeah.
But one thing I think that has taught me is you do not draft a guy who has not put pen to paper. If he is threatening to hold out, Le'Veon Bell has taught us they are not afraid to hold out. And so that scares me. I don't think I would draft Zeke in the first 5. Now, I am pick 6 in our league. If he falls to me, I will not take him. Is that a bad decision? Yes, if he ends up signing. That is, but like I said, PTSD has got me strung. I don't think. I
understand that, but here's my thing. From everything that's coming out, it's not a situation like Melvin Gordon's is. Like, actually, Gordon's in a situation where he can hold out, sit the whole year out if he wants, kind of Le'Veon Bell style. From what I read, for contractual reasons, Zeke can't do that. But do you still want that situation? I'm with you 100%.
No,
you don't want that on your team. I agree. At least not in the first round.
I will say also, just touch the other side of why it's safe to draft Zeke is the fact that his agents tell him to hold out this year is because Jerry Jones wants to win a Super Bowl before he dies, and Dak Prescott's success is based off of Zeke in that running game. They have built
we all love Zeke. Jerry Jones though. Jerry Jones just a good guy.
Right. But he wants a Super Bowl, and this is a year. I mean, they're trying to win now, and Zeke knows that. So Zeke's like, if I'm going to get more money, now's the time. Uh,
I'm with you, brother.
so,
All right, so
but we're at the
we got
eighth pick.
McCaffrey. We got McCaffrey off, Kamara, Barkley, Elliott at the 4th. Chandler disagrees. I'm with him at this moment. Hopkins is first off. That's surprising. And then Adams and David Johnson. And we are here sitting in the 8th slot.
Who do we have available for
So,
us?
yeah, we've obviously Le'Veon Bell, who we were just talking about. He's there. Jones, Michael Thomas, James Conner, Tyreek Hill, who has been cleared. These are all people that I'm thinking about. Or if you want to reach a little bit, you can go, Joe Mixon. You want to be dangerous, Todd Gurley, or even Dalvin Cook.
I'm not trying to
What are you
reach.
thinking through?
Right now, Tyreek Hill is scary, but I mean, if he has no issues, I think he is the pick. But he is scary.
Right.
You got a little, the draft is about mitigating risk, and if we're going to mitigate risk,
Sure.
we're taking Julio Jones, I believe.
Here I would. It's obvious for me. It's between Michael Thomas or Julio Jones, Mister Paycheck, or Mr. Foot. I keep bringing up the foot with Jones, but honestly, I can't get it out of my head.
Hey, and they're gonna both teams are gonna have a fantastic
Oh
offense.
yeah, I mean,
You can't go
yeah,
wrong. I mean, honestly, I
no.
think you just pull the trigger on either one, and you're going to have a good fantasy year at your wide receiver 1 position.
I'll tell you what, I'll take this pick, and we're gonna go Thomas here. We'll talk about the next pick, and we'll let you take that
I'm
one.
totally fine with
So we went Thomas, and Julio fell all the way to the back, just like you said. Yeah, Odell creeped up there. Le'Veon Bell went after Thomas. So after we picked Thomas, Bell went, Odell Beckham, Tyreek Hill, Julio Jones went, beginning second round, James Conner, Todd Gurley, Joe Mixon, Dalvin Cook, and we're back here sitting at 2.5. Now I'm gonna jump in here before you make your selection, and then I'll let you kind of take the reins. But there's a couple options we could be like, hey, let's take Kelsey, the true and tried number 1 tight end. No one that you can really compare him to in the league. Or we can double up on our receivers, go for an RB1 and Damian Williams, who actually, the other day was dealing with a hamstring. Nick Chubb would be a good option here, I think. But what are you thinking?
Well, we could potentially, and now we got to see how the rest of round 2 goes following our pick, and then the turn at the beginning of round 3 goes. But
and Juju Smith-Schuster, I honestly,
right.
I didn't even
well,
see
that's
him.
where I was
He was
getting
still
to.
there.
We could potentially be in the position to where the 0 RB strategy, which is not 0 RB, throughout the whole draft. It's basically the first 4 rounds you're not going to take a running back. Now, I don't know if we'll go that long, but we could be in a position to where we do stack wide receivers like this. And based on how we discussed Juju earlier in the pod, and I think you said we're talking 130 targets, possibly 105 receptions. How do you pass on Juju?
I said, yeah, I agree with you there. I said at least 130. So
Yeah, I think you have to take Juju.
yeah, I just absolutely whenever I was looking over, I absolutely just didn't even see Juju there. My eyes went right to Kelsey. So you're saying that no question right here. Let's
I
go
think
Juju.
there's no question here. You go Juju, and you got Michael Thomas,
Okay.
Juju Smith-Schuster. Your 2 wide receivers are on lock, obviously pending injuries. You're set.
All right, let's go Juju's. Damian Williams, no surprise.
Kelsey, obviously he's going around the 2nd round.
And the beautiful thing about going wide receiver with 2 arguably definite wide receiver 1s is that you in a PPR league especially, unless bar injury, you're going to have a top guy without a doubt, unless, like I said, some injury occurs.
And the fact that our 2 wide receiver positions are locked, we can waste 2 rounds. Not waste, that's a bad word to use, but we can spend 2 rounds on running backs if we choose to.
You're getting into the rounds now to me, it's not really a crapshoot quite yet, or a shot in the dark, as they like to say. But I mean, you're kind of taking a gamble. Right now, we're looking right down the barrel of Leonard Fournette. I'm surprised that it actually fell here. I would almost argue between him and Devontae Freeman for me. Who are some guys you're looking at in this round? You got Derrick Henry there, Josh Jacobs. So we're definitely thinking RB here.
Yes, I think we're thinking RB. Now, if you didn't want to, if you wanted to continue the zero RB strategy, you do still have Stephon Diggs, Julian Edelman, and Brandon
Right.
Cooks available. Also with Robert Woods, he is there. So if you wanted to continue that strategy, you do have some, top 25 wide receivers available. But I do agree with you, Greg. I think we do need to go running back here. However, like I said earlier in the draft, it's about mitigating risk. And I think
Right.
Fournette is a risk. And I believe Devontae Freeman, with his injury history, is also a risk. So I'm actually, and I don't have any faith in Josh Jacobs. And honestly, the Raiders still have something to prove to me. I
Sure.
am more on the Marlon
I'm
Mack
with you
train.
there.
I'm on the
I
Mac
think
bus. So
looking at
that's where
what
I
some of the
would
other teams
go.
have taken, again, we're this isn't a real draft. AI is taking these players, but there's a potential that we take Mac here. Say this was a real life league. There's a potential that we take Mac here, and then a player that I really, really like falls back to us, and Henry. And I say that every year. Last year,
Ooh,
guess what happened? I dropped him, and late last year he took people to a championship and won it off the waiver.
that's a fact. And the Titans are a good team. They have gone 9-7,
Right.
9-7, and
So
9-7 the past 3 years. That
we'll
is
go
a
ahead. We'll
good
go with
football
Mac
team.
here. I like your pick. I agree. Myself, I would have went Freeman, but Mac again. It's not. It doesn't. You're either way. You have a good pick. I think.
So let's just recap on the turn following our Mac pick. They did go Edelman, Fournette, Brandon Cooks, Josh Jacobs. Starting the fourth, they did go Derrick Henry. He did not fall to us. Then Freeman, George Kittle,
Yep.
Philip Lindsay. I would like to get my running backs out of the
Okay.
way. I hate reaching deep into the running back pile late to try and find that other guy. I'd rather go ahead and get it over with. Our wide receivers are on lock. I'm confident in Mac. Let's get our running back out of the
Okay. So
way.
let me
Wide
stop you
receivers are
there.
deep.
Looking
I'm
at
looking
looking
at
at the
Montgomery.
running backs available to us, because here's again where I kind of split off. I'm thinking, hey, the next tier wide receivers that we're going to be looking at, they're going to be different, because look at how many picks we have between this pick and the next pick. But you're right. In
Ton of picks.
Montgomery, we don't know what we have. I mean, honestly, in my opinion, he's going to be great, but never played an NFL game. And then Mark Ingram, he's getting older, but we do know that he can be a workhorse. But
But they
right,
also have Justice Hill, who could definitely
right,
take away some of those carries from Ingram. So he's actually kind of a risk earlier. Before preseason,
sure.
around May, I was very high on Mark
Sure, but
Ingram.
we
Now I'm
can
not
take
so much.
what I would argue to do here, honestly, is take a guy that I like, and maybe not so much Stephon Diggs. I do like Stephon Diggs, but the more and more as we get closer to the season start, I'm kind of falling off that train. I'm leaning more towards like a Chris Godwin or even a Kenny Galladay over Diggs or even Robert Woods.
I will say I love. I kind of am on the wide receiver train simply because of
Right,
the names that are available. Because it is Stephon Diggs, Robert Woods, Kenny Galladay, Chris Godwin, and
right.
Calvin Ridley. Those are really the
I
wide
mean,
receivers I'm looking at here.
right,
However, if we were to take a running back the following round, even with a ton of picks in between us, we could potentially have Tyler Lockett, DJ Moore,
sure,
Tyler
sure.
Boyd fall to us and already have the running back position filled. But you know what? I'd be happy with a wide receiver this round, because now you got your two wide receivers
Right.
and a dominant
See,
flex
I don't. My whole
locked.
thing is, which
But
I
I don't like Chris
I
Godwin.
see what you're saying. My whole thing is I don't want to take a running back just to wipe wipe myself clear of it. You know what I mean? To feel better about it.
So you want
I
to take
want
the
to take
best
someone
player
that I
available.
I believe in, and there are three players here that I
Respect.
absolutely love. Stephon Diggs, I know I just kind of said I was coming down or fading on him, but still I would take him here. This is, I think, great value. Or and Kenny Galladay, Baby Tron, love him, and Chris Godwin. I really think him opposite side of Mike Evans. But tell me what you're thinking. We can go to the Montgomery route because I could see why that makes sense. You tell me. You make this selection here.
Okay, what I will do is I
Okay,
will stick to a wide receiver this round. You put up a good argument. I like it. Let's do that. I want to scratch Chris Godwin from the list. I really
that's
do.
fine.
That may not be fair, um, but I really like Babytron. However, I do not trust that offense. They will throw 45 times a game. However, last year they were 25th in touchdowns, 26th
Sure.
in total yards. I am more on the Stephon Diggs train, especially, that's also backing up my argument from earlier that Adam Thielen is fool's gold. I am a big Stephon Diggs fan. I would lobby for Stephon Diggs, but I would be happy
All right,
with Kenny
let's
Galladay. If it were me,
go
I'm picking
Diggs. Let's see
Diggs if
where
it
this
was me
goes.
personally.
So after that, Ingram goes, Godwin, Green going there. I wouldn't take him there now. We'll
I
see.
wouldn't take him
David
at all.
Montgomery goes. Kenny Galladay, Drake's off the board.
I'm really happy Drake's off the
Luck,
board, so that way I don't have to make the decision on him.
yeah, Lodge is really making at least in the training camp here, from what we're hearing, the beat reporters and whatnot, he's really making a run
It's
for
causing
that.
a
So we'll
fuss.
we'll see how that works out. Yes. So we're back around fifth round, eighth pick. We have so far we've got Michael Thomas, Juju Smith, Marlon Mack, and Stephon Diggs. We're still kind of short on the running back side, but we are in a PPR league, and I'm looking right at Tariq Cohen, and I'm comfortable taking him around this area, fifth, sixth round. That's kind of my area. We were talking about that earlier, and right below him, a couple slots down, I do see Tevin Coleman. So,
Everything comes
um,
full circle on us here, doesn't it?
yeah, absolutely. I think we should definitely lean towards the running back here. I don't think we have much of an option, or we can go with the old trustworthy uh, Lamar Miller.
I don't hate Lamar Miller. I will tell you that I'm tearing up with the fact that Chris Carson's gone one pick before this one because that's who I would have taken.
Yeah.
That's wonderful
Oh
value.
yeah, I'm comfortable with that. I don't like Chris Carson, but I will take him in a redraft like ours, in the fifth round
Do
for
me a
sure,
favor.
just because of the opportunity there at the
Will you
Seahawks.
please touch on
Sure,
why you are
maybe.
not considering Sony Michelle?
Yes. One, I don't even know. He's got some stuff going on with his knee. He had some knee surgery this off season. Also, I do not trust any back like Sony Michelle in the backfield of the New England Patriots. And you know why? Is because unless your name's LeGarrette Blunt, you're not going to get any opportunities in the goal line. You don't know what they're doing. So I'm just avoiding that. Also, they did draft Nikhil Harris, or excuse me, not Nikhil Harris. That's a wide receiver.
Damian Harris
Damian Harris,
in the
exactly.
third round.
Right. That's who I'm looking at. I would rather take Damian over Sony. But yeah, I'm absolutely avoiding Sony. Um,
I know where you're going to go on this, but you did give me the pick in the fourth round, and I took Diggs, so I will give you this pick. And I assume in your mind it's going to be between Tariq Cohen and Lamar Miller, especially with Breda being your sleeper pick. So
right.
um, pick away. Honestly, even if you pick Cohen or Miller, the way this team's shaping out, I wish this could be my team this year.
Well,
So
let me ask you this: which back out of the three is going to get? Who would you bet your money on to get over 200 carries?
Over 200 carries would be Lamar
between
Miller.
the three. That's my point. And at this point, we need someone like that, I think. So I'm going Lamar Miller.
I don't hate
Never.
it. Slightly risky, but we are getting into the at post fourth rounds. You really do start to take some risks. You need to nail your top 4 picks. The first 4 rounds, you have to nail them, and I think we did that. Now we are
Yeah.
getting to risk zone. It is scary that he is our second running back off the board.
It's very scary. It's super scary. But at the same time, last year, who was disappointed with having Lamar Miller? I had Lamar Miller. I think I got him from
You're
Jason,
very
maybe.
satisfied.
I was happy enough. I will say that.
All right,
But talk us through this pick. What are we doing?
moving along, as fate would decide, we got Sony Michel still alive. Tariq Cohen went the pick before ours, of course. And we still have Tevin Coleman, Rashad Penny, not a fan.
Mhm.
Darius Geis, not touching him. I do like Daryl Henderson. However, that is risky, especially if Todd Gurley is still even 75% of what Todd Gurley was. Austin Eckler, man, that's a pick right there if Melvin Gordon does get traded. Lord. Let's see. Wide receiver wise, Mike Williams, Alshon Jeffrey. We still have 3 of them. I would really
Right.
like
And we don't, and keep in mind,
running
we don't
back.
have a tight end. We don't have a tight end yet. So, to me, Ebron here is undraftable.
I agree.
I think he's going to fall way off a cliff compared to last year.
I agree.
Um,
I'm all
but
about
yeah,
holding out late on tight
I'm
ends.
comfortable. I'm comfortable here with going with a high upside receiver or even a high upside running back.
Who would that running
To
back be
me,
for
that
you?
well, at this position, even over Coleman, I would say Rashad Penny, just because I would say that Penny's going to be looking, and if he wins the job, he's going to be looking at a lot of carries. If he doesn't, and Carson goes down, he's going to be looking at a lot of carries. Coleman, we don't know what Coleman's role is, right?
Facts.
In San Francisco, that's my argument. But it's your pick. Pick who you want. We could also go with a high upside receiver. Like I said, I'd be comfortable with either or.
I
And
think I'm going to
Dante
go
Pettis,
with
speaking of the 49ers,
yes.
could be some high upside there.
That's very high upside. However, I'm not hella confident in Lamar Miller, so I kind of do want to hedge that. You make a
Sure.
great argument for Rashad Penny. Clearly, we're not chasing PPR running backs. Like, we're both looking for running backs who are going to dominate carries or potentially dominate carries. So I'm cool with Rashad Penny
Right.
here. Let's take him, get the running backs out of the way, really start focusing on just high upside wide receivers.
Okay.
Maybe finally take a tight end around 9 or 10. I like that.
Let's do it.
Lo and behold, our pick is followed by Mike Williams, Dante Pettis, Sony Michel, Tevin Coleman, Darius Geis, Robbie Anderson, Latavius Murray. The turn took Will Fuller at 7.1. I'm really high on Will Fuller. His only
Look at all these QBs falling off. Are you getting nervous?
Nervous on a QB. It's hard. It's hard for me to get nervous, especially when you have
I agree.
Wentz,
I'm with
Russell
you.
Wilson, Cam Newton, Jared Goff, all available. We can hold out.
So obviously, you and I both agree with late-ish round quarterback. If a certain quarterback falls to us, I know you're, at least in some of the mocks that we've done, you're big on taking Carson around this area.
I'm a huge Carson Wentz fan.
So let's back up. I want to back up and talk about a couple of the quarterbacks that went early, just real quick, just to touch on, because we're kind of running along here. But Patrick Mahomes, where absolutely would you have to take him? He went in the third, and this 3.5 to be exact. Where is it for you where you'd be like, okay, yeah, I'm not letting him go past that point?
Well, he's not going to fall to this point, but it's going to be mid-6th round, and simply because of the depth of the quarterback position. There are so many. You have to give up really, really good running backs and wide receivers to take a quarterback that early when you could honestly not draft a quarterback, stream quarterbacks throughout the season, and be fine.
No, I'm with you. Yeah, absolutely. I would say for me, yeah, around that end for me, it's end of the 5, 6. I'm not taking. I'm not pulling the trigger on Mahomes. He's not. He threw 50 touchdowns last
And
year.
he's
Not
not
going to
going to
happen
fall
again.
that far. He's going to be
Yeah,
gone before the
watch him
50s.
go and throw for 60 this
Right,
year.
right.
But what are we gonna do here? We talked about we don't have a tight end yet. Ebron's still there. He fell. I'm surprised. Vance McDonald, we hit on him a little bit earlier in the episode. Again, your boy Carson's there. My boy Carson. I think he's gonna have a big year. I think the Eagles are gonna be a phenomenal offense. What are you thinking and why?
Well, we already discussed my love for Wentz, and we are in the 7th rounds.
Yep.
Wentz does have, I could picture Wentz being the number 1 fantasy quarterback this season.
All right. Well, you've
They have
convinced
his
me there. Let's just go
25%.
ahead and pull the trigger
Love
here.
it. Take him. Take him.
Okay. We're gonna take Wentz here. And Ebron goes after that. I'm surprised Ebron is falling. It seems like he's fallen in drafts as of late.
Our team's pretty much locked at this point. So now I think we can really start taking high upside guys. I don't like
Absolutely.
Sammy Watkins. I'm more on the Geronimo Allison train, and I think this is great value at 8.5. He could potentially win the wide receiver 2 job, and they're going to run 3 wide receiver sets. So
And this is something that we can both attest to. So look who went right before Wilson, and look who's still on the board.
yes,
Wow. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, a month ago, MVS wasn't going what 10 round, 11th round,
if that.
but yeah, if that. So all the that just goes to show all these beat reporters that around training camp, all this like what that actually does and how that affects fantasy, good
Real
or
fast,
bad.
real fast. I am a Geronimo Allison fan. They're going to run 65, 75% of the time. They're going to be in a 3 wide receiver set, and Geronimo Allison is going to be running the slot. And the slot is a good position for a wide receiver. We saw Larry Fitzgerald dominate the slot. I don't hate it. Aaron Rodgers is your quarterback. They got a new coach. We expect some positive regression in this offense. Aaron Rodgers only threw 25 touchdowns last year. I think that's going to increase. So either way, I don't care if it was MVS or Allison in this spot. I would take either
Sure,
one of them.
I'm with you. Let's go ahead. We're gonna speed up a little bit here. We'll go ahead and go with Allison right after Jared Cook falls off, Kareem Hunt, Royce Freeman, Sammy Watkins. Cam's going a little bit earlier than he used to. Sterling Shepard, we had the first defense fall off in the Bears. And then here we are back at 9.8 with Vance McDonald, Jordan Howard, LaShawn McCoy. I guarantee LaShawn McCoy will probably go undrafted in our league. Austin Hooper, David Njoku, Corey Davis, and D.D. Westbrook. So here we are back in, like I said, the 9.8. And again, yeah, like we've been talking about, we're chasing high upside here.
Curtis
That's
Samuel.
at least. Ooh. I feel like you just coughed something into my soul. What'd you say?
Curtis Samuel. That's
Oh
where I'm
yeah.
leaning.
Okay. I'm with you on Curtis Samuel for sure. 9, 10. I'm taking him anytime after 8. I'm comfortable taking Curtis Samuel from what I've heard around camp, what I've read. Kiki Kuti. I'm also a fan him around here. Cortland Sutton, like we were talking about earlier with the athleticism, he has the size. He doesn't necessarily have the speed that I like and a receiver his around his build. But I'm comfortable with. Do you just think it's a lockdown for Curtis here?
I mean, I wouldn't call it a lockdown. However, I am confident in Cam Newton, and that's a question you need to ask yourself. If you're confident in Cam Newton, then
Sure.
Curtis Samuel is a lock for that wide receiver 2 position, and that is a very high upside guy.
Well, let's back up. What about Marvin Jones? I know you said that you're not a big fan of this Lions offense. They came out, they've said multiple times. You said that they're going to throw, which is
Fact.
in complete that's a complete contrary to what the coaches come out saying. They want to run the ball. That's what they want to do. They said it multiple times. I'm with you though. I don't see that happening.
They're going to be
I'm
down a lot.
which I'm a fan of Kerryon Johnson. I
I
think he's going to have a decent year.
I do too.
Um, outside the top 10 as far as running backs, I think for sure. But Marvin Jones, he's someone I find myself in mocks taking late. So yeah, I'm kind of torn here. I'm gonna leave it to you.
I love Marvin Jones. But going back to what we said earlier, we said late
Hmm.
rounds is about finding those high upside guys, those diamonds in a rough.
Sure.
From Marvin Jones, for a fact you're going to get anywhere between 155 to 185 fantasy points, and that's fantastic. That's wonderful. And if one of our wide receivers goes down, that is a great guy to plug in. So you can look at am I chasing upside, or am I chasing a good lineup, a good bench player, to where if I do get a guy with a hamstring injury or on a bye. So that's kind of where we're at.
All right. We're going with Samuel there immediately after Jones. Surprised that he fell there. He used to be going around 8, 7 mark. But N'Keal Harry, that's who I was mistaken for Damian Harris earlier. Ronald Jones, not a fan of that backfield really at all. I think Jalen Samuels, he went after Ronald Jones. I think Jalen Samuels may be a decent pickup late rounds. How are you feeling about that backfield? Like, do you trust Connor
I don't trust
or
Connor.
not?
I don't not trust Connor. Jalen Samuels is a good
Sure.
pick in the ninth round. That's how I feel
Okay.
about him.
I agree. So here we are. We're looking down at our last pick. This is going to be the last pick that we make today. Let's talk about our team right now. Michael Thomas, Juju Smith-Schuster, Marlon Mack, Stephon Diggs. We went with Lamar Miller, feeling a little bit of the safer side. Rashad Penny, Carson Wentz, Geronimo Allison, and then Curtis Samuel. Um, so obviously we're cutting it a little bit short here at 10, and typically we wouldn't do that. Draft would go around 16 or 17. But we're gonna cut a little bit short, and this is gonna be our last pick. So, what are you thinking for the last pick here, around round 10, Chandler?
Well, it is round 10. I think it's important to discuss the tight ends available. There's still plenty of tight ends left that I could potentially wait. But since we haven't
Sure.
really discussed one, we haven't drafted one, I think it's important for people to hear our opinion
Right.
regarding tight ends. I think we should simply discuss the tight end for the sake of it. Um,
Right. And here's what I'm thinking. I'll give you mine, and then I'll let you jump on in. If I don't get Kelsey, which I don't think I'm going to, and especially in our draft, I'm sitting at slot 2. So, back to the second round, Kelsey's going to already be gone, I think. I may take Zach Ertz there if he's still available. But, it's kind of hard for me to pull a trigger. So, likely what I'll be doing is taking, which I've talked to you about this before, taking the upside on one of these um, rookie tight ends and TJ Hawkinson at the Detroit Lions, because they're going to be, like you said, I think they're going to be throwing a lot. Or last year, Mark Andrews looked good in a few games that he's playing, but I think I'm going to maybe lean more towards that. But what are you thinking, and why?
what I'm thinking, touching on what you said earlier regarding Kelsey and Ertz, I do think we'll see some regression in Ertz simply due to the rise of Goddard. I actually like Kittle over Ertz. However, for me personally, it's too early to take a tight end. I will be a person that waits this late for a tight end. I'm not looking at Hawkinson. I'm more or less looking at Delaney Walker. Injury history scares me. Greg Olson, also injury issues, but I am on the Mark Andrews train. I think that is a shot in the
Hmm.
dark that you can take. He's going to be a great
Absolutely.
safety net for Lamar Jackson. So I would be more along taking Mark Andrews here, waiting until the 16th round, and then picking up a Kyle Rudolph, or maybe even taking a shot at Tyler Eifert. And I know you're against having two tight ends, but I'd rather take a shot at Mark Andrews, drafting another tight end very late, or picking one up off the waiver.
Right, and that's the beautiful thing about Mark Andrews. You're going to get him around that range that Kyle Rudolph is going or someone like that, you're not gonna get you're not gonna have to worry about someone picking them up very early in the draft. You can take spend your second to last or third to last if you want to kind of reach, or even your last pick and get that. But we'll go ahead just for these purposes. We'll go ahead and go with Mark Andrews to wrap up our draft, and then we'll talk about our team in a little bit just to wrap up. Go ahead and tell us who we have, and we'll wrap things up here.
Yeah, so I actually think we put together a pretty solid team. We went with Michael Thomas, one, our second round pick. We went with Juju, followed by Marlon Mack, and then Stephon Diggs. I think it's important to know your first four picks, and I do believe that we did that. Then follow that up with Lamar Miller, who I think it's safe when we discuss, me and you personally wanted guys who are going to get a lot of opportunity, and we're looking at guys who are going to get 200 touches, not necessarily focusing on the pass,
Right.
the receiving potential there. So I really like
Right. I mean,
Lamar Miller.
Lamar Miller is going to take a lot of he's going to take a lot of flack. Or
He
if you
is.
draft him around there, you're going to take a lot of flack for
He's
taking Lamar
safe.
Miller. But the fact is, it is what it
He's
is.
safe.
But go ahead.
Then followed that up with Rashad Penny. I think he is kind of a risk, but Carson does have some injury history. The Seahawks are going to run the football. We followed that up with a quarterback. Now, seventh round is slightly early for a quarterback, but I love me some Carson Wentz, like we stated earlier. He has some, top fantasy producer
Yeah.
potential. Then we got Geronimo Allison. I love the Curtis Samuel pick. I'm high on Cam Newton. He looks healthy. Curtis Samuel's a lock for that wide receiver too, and we got him in the ninth
Oh,
round.
and did I tell you just real quickly? I got Curtis Samuel in my dynasty.
That's a
If you
great
remember,
dynasty pick.
I traded. I, if you remember, I told you someone offered last week, I think. But anyway, they were offering me Curtis Samuel because they knew I wanted him. I had James White. They were offering me Curtis Samuel and a third round pick next year, a future first round pick next year, or a third round pick next year for James White. I said, no, that's all right. Just because I knew he was going to come back. For some reason, he wanted James White. The dude comes back with Curtis Samuel and his first round draft pick for James White. I pulled the trigger. I have Curtis Samuel and 2 first round draft picks next year.
Now, I think that's a wonderful trade, and I think you won that trade. Dynasty is a mix of a win now and build a
Yep.
team to win later. He's trying to win
Yep.
now, but that New England backfield is very convoluted.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great
Yeah.
pickup on your part. I truly, truly do. While we're discussing the draft, I do have something I want to say about ADP. This
Sure.
is focused towards a couple of our league mates, a couple of owners in our league.
Rutro.
They believe that we are ADP drunk. I don't believe that. I think me and you value ADP. I think it's very important. However, there is a difference between focusing on ADP and putting a good team together.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you have the potential to take a player who you believe is going to be a good player and the ADP disagrees with you, that is a situation you ignore the ADP. Okay.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill could potentially be a very good argument for that. We jumped on Lamar Miller. His ADP may not agree with the 5th round, but we were
We
confident
jumped on him though.
and we were
Yeah.
mitigating risk. And I believe we did that. I think we ignored the ADP in that situation. ADP has a role to play,
Sure.
but in situations like Patrick Mahomes going into the 3rd round, if he's there and his ADP is 3.5 and you have the 5th pick in the 3rd round, you don't have to take
Right.
him just because ADP says you have to. We don't
Here,
believe that.
here's the thing. It's a great practice tool, 100%. But you know your league better than anybody else. And I'm speaking to anybody who may be listening. I'm speaking to league mates. You know how better than anybody else does, or maybe even better than they do, how they are going to draft. So if there's someone that you're targeting and you want to pull the trigger at that point, go ahead. I mean, you probably have a better feeling of whether or not they're going to take that person, when they are than they do. So yeah, but I think ADP is a great tool.
It
I
matters.
enjoy watching. Absolutely, it does matter. I enjoy watching players over the during the off season go up and sometimes completely off, undrafted, you know. But yeah, anything else you want to add before we wrap this show up? The first ever GNC fantasy football show, Chandler.
Well, as long as everybody knows that we do not sell supplements, is simply. But no, I'm very excited. Actually, today went.
Wait. What supplements you got? Maybe.
But no. Today, I think it went very well. First podcast ever that we've done. I mean, we haven't even done a practice
Congrats.
round, and it went pretty well. It's only going to get better from here. I want everybody.
All right.
To know
Well,
that.
we'll have a couple more. If hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, please give us a like. Let us know what you thought, whatever you think. But other than that, peace.
Peace.